Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema Safari. Today's episode, Black Phone 2. We're jumping back into the horror genre. Black Phone 2, we see the return of Mason Thames, Ethan Hawke, in leading the charge, reprising the roles from the first film. Scott Derrickson returns to direct the film. And yeah, I'm excited to jump right in. So grab your popcorn, sit back, and get ready for that phone to ring as we talk about the Black Phone 2. The Black Phone 2, directed by Scott Derrickson. It was written by Derrickson along with C. Robert Cargill. And it was produced by Jason Blum, Scott Derrickson, and Cargill as well. We see Mason Thames, Madeline McGraw, Jeremy Davies, Damien Bashir, and Ethan Hawke returning all from the first film. Now, Ethan Hawke, of course, returns as the grabber from the first film. Big thing for me from the first, after watching the first film, for those of you who have seen the first film, of course, the grabber is killed by Mason Thames' character at the end of the first film. So when this film was first announced, I was very hesitant, um, especially at the time because we didn't really. I mean, when they first announced it, obviously we didn't know anything revolving around like the story plot of the film. So we didn't really know what to expect, but I was very hesitant because he did die, so, like, how are they bringing him back? What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Because he kind of just seemed like a guy in a mask, nothing, like, too, like, overly special about him in the first film, aside from being a serial killer. So that aspect of that was very hesitant when it first was announced, so I didn't really know what to expect. I was interested in, like, what kind of direction they were going to go in. And I guess it is also based on a book, so I don't know. I never read the book, but yeah, I didn't really know what to expect when it was first announced. So in the Black Phone 2, we see the return of Ethan Hawke as the grabber from the great beyond. He is dead in the film, so the film is mostly centered around Mason Thames, who plays Finney, Madeline McGraw as Gwen, his younger sister. So Gwen has these like dreams when she falls asleep, visions, so to speak. And in these dreams, that's when we see the grabber return, haunting her in the dreams, trying to kill her, kill Finney, some of the other characters as well. A major point in the film, we see them. So the film is set 4 years after the events of the first film, after Finney kills the grabber in the first film. So then Gwen starts to have these dreams with the grabber, and she sees murders that he committed years ago, probably some of his first murders, at a place called Alpine Lake Camp. And these murders that she sees happened in like 1957, so about 30-ish years before the events of the film. So it turns out that in the film, in the dreams, she connects that their mother Hope, who they thought committed suicide years ago, it turns out was killed by the grabber as one of his victims, and he made it look like a suicide. So this whole time they thought that she committed suicide, the dad thought that too, but it turns out that she was just one of his victims. And another connection in the story was that they were both counselors at this camp along with, when they were teenagers, along with the now like head of the camp in the present time, where Finney and Gwen are at. So they go to the camp to because of these dreams to be counselors. They get snowed in, and so they are stuck there. Um, Things unfold, and they figure out that the victims of the grabber are buried somewhere at the camp. So, and that's kind of giving him power, I guess, to haunt them in their dreams, try to kill them from the great beyond. So they realize that they end up freeing these dead bodies of his victims. It will weaken his powers, and he won't be able to attack them anymore. So a lot of the themes in the film I thought were great. Overall, for me, I thought that after watching both films, there were concepts from both films that I liked. So I'm not too sure which one I liked more overall. I would maybe I think just because of the themes that were explored in the second film, I would probably say that this film for me was I don't know better per se, but just overall more locked in for me to watch. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's what we're going with. So in the film, a big part of the film with Finney and his dad. In the first film, their dad was a huge alcoholic, and in the film, he kind of tried to turn his life around to try to help Finney once they figured out that he was taken by the grabber in the first film. So in this film, Finney and the dad are both kind of alcoholics, using the alcoholism to deal with certain traumas in their lives. Finney really does it because he's still traumatized mentally from that whole ordeal from 4 years prior, where he was trapped in the basement of the grabber's house, and everything that happened, having killed grabber to escape, everything that happened. And Gwen, interacting with her brother, her father, trying to not feeling bad, not wanting to see them like this, but not really knowing how to help them. So a lot of the themes in this film definitely, for a lot of people, easy to connect with. Just a lot more stuff that kind of related to real life, which I thought kind of made it a more enjoyable film overall. Another theme that they used in the film was that that the thought about the grabber's gone, Finney's still kind of trying to get over everything that happened with alcohol, blah blah blah. So there is one night in the film where there's a dead payphone at the campsite. It rings. He receives a call from the grabber from the great beyond. So part of it's also psychological, I think, where yes, he is appearing in the dreams of Gwen, trying to kill her and get to the others, but also the fact that psychologically, is he really gone, or is there more to him? As in Finney's case, getting that call from the grabber directly, and just dealing with all that, and kind of the trauma of how do you really get over something like this, and what do you try to do, what do you do, who do you talk to, all of that to get over such big traumatizing events that occurred in your life. And even 4 years later, still reeling over the fact that it'll happen and not really getting over it. And do you really get over it? That's also the question. So the film really explores, really gets into those concepts, which I think are great. Really great to see how they unfolded and how the characters developed from the events of the first film into this film, and how they're just dealing with everything, throw their mom into it, and the fact that they figure out what actually happened to her, on top of everything, and just all of that together, seeing how they deal with everything, made it a really fun watch, and definitely recommend it. Whether or not you're a horror fan, like I'm not a horror fan, so like there were definitely a lot of parts in the film where like I definitely jumped, ran out of the room at certain parts. There was one where I was watching it at the theater one day with one of the other managers, and it was dead silent, so I thought they shut the movie off at the end of the night, but it was still on apparently. So I walked in immediately. There was like a big jump scare, so I like ran out, dove out of the theater. Pretty funny. But yeah, for those of you who do like horror, it definitely has a lot of those moments. It has a lot of that great stuff for fans of that. It also just a lot of great themes, great concepts. Just story-wise, I think it's just overall a great film. The first film was a really good film, very, very well acted, especially like Mason Thames for his, I believe that was his first film. Amazing job, lead role, first film, amazing. Ethan Hawke, of course, just a great actor, great job with this role. But the first film I think is more of your like generic, in a sense, like horror film, so to speak, with some twists, of course. But like it definitely feels more generic, closer to some other like ABC types of horror films than the second film overall. So that definitely, I think, they are like expanding in a positive way with the series. I know that Ethan Hawke and some of the other actors, and I believe Derrickson as well, the director, they're interested in a third film. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how they keep expanding it if that third film does end up going into development in a few years. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how they expand and what's going to happen in a potential sequel. So the film had a pretty good opening weekend. It made $27 million at the domestic box office in its opening weekend, dethroning Tron Ares, becoming number one in its opening weekend. And so it's doing pretty well at the box office. They're decent. I think that it might not have, from what I've seen at theaters that I've looked at, it's not doing as great as maybe some people expected, especially after all the positive reactions and reception from the first film. But it's still, I think, doing pretty well overall, at least. So, yeah, I think it's doing pretty good, and I'm just excited to see where they go from here. So, like I said, Black Phone 2, definitely something I recommend to watch, whether you're a horror fan or not. There's definitely aspects of the film that I think you definitely could enjoy, even if you're not a horror fan. If you are a horror fan, if you are, it's definitely worth a watch. Definitely a lot of great horror elements in the film. Definitely expanding the series in a positive direction, building on the groundwork that the first film laid. And I think it's just definitely a good watch and a great horror film for the holiday season, the Halloween season. We didn't get a lot of horror films this Halloween. There are some horror films coming out in late November, early December, which is kind of awkward that they're releasing them then, like Five Nights 2, which I know a lot of people are excited for after the first one. Kind of awkward that they're releasing it in December, not now, but hopefully those are going to be good as well. And please comment in today's episode with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it, the first film, which film you preferred. If you're excited, want to see a third film potentially down the road. And follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, X. And thank you for watching. We will see you next time.